This is a quick introduction to the SciTE editor, which is an open source editor available for multiple platforms including Windows and Linux, and it's very good for quickly developing PHP programs. So the basic interface here we can see is very simple, and it's tabbed, and we have two documents open here in the tab, and one of them is a PHP file, and you can see just as I run the mouse over there that that's located in the C XAMPP PHP docs directory. So it's in the directory of a web server. So let's just type some code in here, and you can see that it's coloring the code as I type it. So which is handy, so I know if I've typed something correct. So you can see there that the echo is purple and this whatever is between those two quotes is in green, so we can immediately see that there's something different, and the PHP tags at the top and bottom, those open and closing tags, are a different colour as well. So these all do different things. So why is that important? Well, it's important because suppose when I started typing echo I was making a mistake, so supposing I made a mistake and I typed echo hello world. Now that I can see straight away that echo looks a bit funny there, it's not gone purple. So there we go, so I made a mistake. So it gives you a hint that something is wrong. And supposing I had a statement, I had a little program here, it said hello and goodbye. There's my program for saying hello, goodbye. But supposing I did this, now that program looks a bit funny because this word is green but this word is black. This one is purple and this is green. Why is that? Well, it's because I didn't close this quotation mark here. So I need to close that there, and then it all looks correct. So that's the basic advantage of code highlighting. It gives you hints as to what you're doing, and it also aids conceptually. Once you get familiar with a programming language, you know that different things are, these colors stand for different things, and you immediately can start to tell what a program is doing just from a glance. You can tell which parts are built into the language and which are parts that you've specified or the user has specified, and which are variables and which are core language features and so on. Another nice thing about SciTE is that you can collapse pieces of code or fold them, so code folding it's sometimes called. So you can see this little collapsible, a little minus sign here beside the PHP at the top, and if I click that it just collapses that code. And that happens as well if we create pieces of code within our file. I'm just going to create some nonsensical code here. You don't need to know what it does. And you can see that one of the nice things that SciTE is doing is it's aligning the code here. It's putting in these lines so I can see the indentation of the code is important for understanding how what's happening. And you can see that bits of indented code belong together and allows us to. We've got two more collapsible icons here, so we can click these minus signs. We can click everything in below that line will collapse, or we can collapse everything in here. And if your program gets complicated, you can collapse various bits of it and concentrate on certain bits and show and hide bits. So that's the main feature of the code folding. And also it allows you to tell, once you understand more what your code is doing, which parts belong together and which parts don't belong together. You can collapse and very quickly see if certain parts of code are being hidden, and you can tell therefore if they're in the right place or not. You can, in the options, you can turn on the option in view for line numbers, and these line numbers column will come up here on the left, and that's very handy. So suppose I just create this program here and I put an error into the program. I don't close that string hello. There should be an extra quotation mark here, and suppose I run the program and it says there's an error, and the error is on line 5. That's not very helpful here, because you can see that it's that the error is actually on line 3, and the reason it thinks it's on line 5 is it doesn't know where this has ended. It keeps looking for this trailing parenthesis, and when it doesn't find it, this trailing quotation mark, it sees the opening one here, it looks for the closing one, it keeps looking, it doesn't guess line 5, it hasn't found it, it says error on line 5. So line numbers are only so useful in PHP because often the feedback you get isn't very informative. Now really we'd be looking at a web page to see the output of this program. If I run it again, I can see this time it runs better, there's no error. So it just gives me a nice hello code. It says hello and then it exits. And how this works is in the HTML properties in the root folder of where SciTE installs. So in this case it's something like C program files SciTE. There are some property files, and you can add the path to your PHP binary files here in the property files at the bottom of this file. You can just add this line to where PHP lives on your system and once you have XAMPP installed. So the path in this case is C XAMPP PHP, and then these two lines go in here, and you can copy these two lines yourself if you wish, and they basically just tell SciTE that the PHP program, where the PHP program is installed, and it allows you to run little PHP programs directly from within the editor here without having to fire up a web browser. So let's have a look at another example. Just do another small little program. Let's run this code. And we've got an error. Okay, so there's the code. It's just output there. It's looped through from 0 to 10, and each time it goes through the loop it outputs this piece of text BR, and it outputs the digit from 1 to 10 there, so BR0, BR1, BR2, BR3, BR4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it exits the program. and that's obviously the source code of HTML. So if that was in a browser, it would render as a list of numbers flowing down the page. So that can be useful for developing simple PHP programs, although in all but the most general of cases you really need to look at the browser to see what's really happening, and particularly when you're inputting things into a PHP page through a form or through a URL or something, it gets a bit more complicated. And that's the basic introduction to SciTE for PHP.